Welcome to Hope Springs Eternal, where we're having positive conversations about the United Methodist Church. Today we're talking to Reverend Tim Jones. Tim Jones is the Director of Communications of the Holston Conference of the United Methodist Church, where he leads a diverse team of communicators. He oversees audio, graphic design, video, and written content that helps local churches of Holston stay connected to each other and the conference. He graduated from Wesley Theological Seminary with a Doctorate of Ministry degree in Spirituality and Story. Prior to the conference communicator role, he served as pastor to several Holston UMC churches and as marketing director for SFX Communications. He has served over 25 years in marketing and video with extensive background in producing online and live events. We hope this conversation blesses you as we continue to have positive conversations about the United Methodist Church. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have Reverend Dr. Tim Jones, who's the Director of Communications at Holston Conference. Tim, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Natalie, it's great to be here.
Well, like I said, we're happy to have you with us. Let me go ahead and start with our first question. Tell me briefly your call to ministry, as well as how did you become a part of the United Methodist Church?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't really grow up in the church. I attended occasionally with my family. We were some of those Creaster families, and we also attended during Mother's Day. But I found myself going to vacation Bible school in the summer times, as well as getting involved with some youth and children things. And I really enjoyed Sunday school. And so in the morning, Sunday mornings, I would beg my parents to take me to Sunday school. And occasionally they would take me and drop me off. And that was kind of my early childhood experience with church. In 1992, I was a freshman in high school, and my family, my dad got a new job that took us away from my East Tennessee roots, and we moved to Gallatin, Tennessee, which is close to Nashville. And while it's only, I don't know, maybe 2.5, 3 hours away, it felt like a world away at that time because I was leaving all my family and all my friends. And I became a little rebellious and kind of went against my parents and was doing everything I could to try to get them to move back to my hometown. But in the process, my dad made me go to a summer picnic with his company because he was trying to get to know more people and wanted families to get to know people. And while we were there was a young lady that caught my eye, and she and I hung out for a few hours, and she ended up inviting me to come to church. And so I accepted, and it was a Church of the Nazarene, which I had never heard of at the particular time. But she invited me to come, and I remember the night that they were coming by to pick me up. I asked my mom and dad, I said, "This isn't a cult, is it?" And they said, "Well, we're really not sure, so don't get involved too much." And anyway, I went, and it was just a fabulous time. I made friends, and it really started to help me transition from the move. It helped my relationship with my parents and my siblings got much better while I was attending this particular church. And it got to the point that my life changed so much that my parents decided to start coming to the church as well. And so that was our church experience. And during that time, I guess it was probably year and a half later, is when I ended up accepting a call into ministry. And at that time, I was just dead set that call into ministry had to be youth ministry. And so I was doing everything I could to be a youth pastor. I graduated high school in 1995 and started working at the church at that time. I was doing some children's stuff and doing some youth stuff while I was going to college and then eventually seminary, and started preaching that same year. And so I've been behind the pulpit since 1995. And so I was ordained in the Church of the Nazarene. And in 2005, 2006, I was really kind of struggling with my call. At that point, I had gone ahead and I had moved into an associate role, and then I was moving into a senior pastor role. And one of the things that the Church of the Nazarene, which is just a sister denomination of the United Methodist Church, they broke off in the late 1800s for reasons of social justice. And that's really where my heart was. But the Church of the Nazarene had kind of moved away from that, and they were more focused on international missions. In fact, I would still say, in my opinion, they're one of the best international missions when it comes to denominations. But my heart was really more on social justice issues, and so I entered into a time of discernment for about 18 months to see if I really felt like my call was moving me more to a different denomination. And during that time is when I really started to learn more about the United Methodist Church. And the last year of that discernment, I spent time in a CPE program, clinical pastoral education program. I did a year's residency at the University of Tennessee, and excuse me. And it was during that time that I felt like God was calling me into the United Methodist Church. And so I did that. I met with, at the time, Dr. Doug Fairbanks was the district superintendent of the Knoxville district, and he and I spoke and just really hit it off. And he introduced me to G.W. Bowles at Powell Church, and it was, gosh, just a few weeks after that, I was hired on to be their pastor of assimilation to help them with small groups and to help them with some tech things. And then things just took off. So I served at Powell for 4 years. I served from there. I went to a senior pastor role at Peck's Memorial for 3 years, and then Sycamore Tree for 4 years. And then I was called into the director of communications, and I've started my 6th year in July. So it's been a fun road, and I've loved every minute of it.
So tell me, why do you love the United Methodist Church and why are you choosing to stay?
The United Methodist Church really accepted me for who I was, and it just felt like home from the very beginning. It was a place where I could use all of my gifts. During the time when I was in the Church of the Nazarene, most of that time I was bivocational, and so I spent time um, in marketing and sales. My undergrad degree was in communications and business. And so I just found a place where I could use all of those skills. But in addition to that, it was just being with the people. And one of the things I loved about it was there were so many different people. It wasn't everyone had the same mindset, not everyone necessarily believed the same way. But we were all in the same room, we were all worshiping, and we all had that greater mission of building the kingdom. And so it was really neat to be in a church and be able to gain different perspectives, not just on theology, but on the way folks would parent, on the way they believed politically, on the way that they had, some had high education, some had no education. And it was just fun being with a group of diverse people and learning so much, but all serving that greater purpose.
So, we're going through this tremendous transition right now in the United Methodist Church. My question for you is, what is your hope for the future of the United Methodist Church?
I hope that we can get back to mission, get back to the idea of building the kingdom here on earth, get back to becoming and being the disciples that we're called to. One of the best things for me about the United Methodist Church is our call to social holiness, and which is a call to love God with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves, and to um, be evangelical in the sense of inviting people to into a relationship with Christ, but at the same time living like Christ. And I think that's a little unique for a denomination. A lot of times you find denominations that are kind of one or the other. They're solely focused on being more evangelical, or they're solely focused on being more social justice focus. But for us, we're kind of centered, and we take a look at both things. And so I hope that we can move back to that. And I hope that we can remember that it's okay to not agree on everything, as long as we agree on loving God and loving our neighbor, and um, being the disciple that Jesus wants us to be.
As we are going through this transition, I know you've seen it as well as I have, the grief and especially we had our called annual conference in April, and it was heartbreaking. If a clergy person or a laity person came to you today and asked for some words of encouragement, what would you tell them during this time?
I would tell them to hold on. I would tell them that ministry is it's a roller coaster. Sometimes we have our ups and we have our downs, but to hold on to that call that they know that God has given them, whether it's a call into vocational ministry for clergy, or whether it's a call into the ministry that our laity find themselves in, just to remember that God has not abandoned us, and that God is going to walk with us in the valleys and help us get back to those mountaintops, and that it's important that we live into that call that God has given us, because God's blessed us with those skills and those gifts, and not to allow the distractions of the world and the distractions of other people to keep us from fulfilling that mission.
Thank you so much, Tim. And thank you so much for those who are watching. I hope this conversation blessed you as much as it blessed me. Thanks again, Tim, for joining us.